Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's session of Healing from the Inside Out with my fabulous co-hosts, Leslie Gaudet and CJC Boyd. So today we want to talk about voices that aren't really being heard. There's a lot of people out there doing amazing things in the world, and you hear a lot about what people are doing wrong, but you really don't hear about the people that are doing amazing things. So today we're going to get into a little bit about that, like people that we aspire to be more like, people that we found incredible in our own personal journey, and how we want to be the change that we want in the world. So who wants to go first, ladies?
Would you like to go first, CJ? You got a big
Sure.
smile on your face.
I think just because I love water, I mean, I love my hot tub, I love being at the beach, I love all the things water. So one of the ladies that I've never heard anybody talk about her, but her name is Ida Lewis, and she's supposedly the bravest woman on the planet because she was one of the first lighthouse keepers
Okay.
to actually be a woman in a keeper of a lighthouse, and she did it for several decades. And the lighthouse association that she started became the Coast Guard. And so I just think that that's so cool because I've never heard that story. I've never known anything about that until I started researching, women who have changed history. And I just think that that's really cool to think that a woman did that. And, sometimes we look at men being in the lighthouse keepers and them showing the way and them being all brave and stuff, but a woman to be there on her own, alone, being that woman that's guiding the ships to shore, that blew my mind. And I just think that that's really cool. So it's like the women like that who have really made significant changes in the world, but how many people have ever really heard of her?
Yeah.
You know what? It's amazing, because they did a movie about that, I think. I think there was an old
Oh,
movie about that, an old movie.
I'm gonna have
It
to look
might
that
not have
up.
been about her, but storyline was the same. I have a picture of Ansel Adams. I like love lighthouses and all that stuff. Like one of
Yep.
his old pictures. I love that stuff. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I like that. Very cool.
What about
Well,
you,
I
Leslie?
guess, yeah. So for me, I chose someone who I actually watched the movie and then started looking a little bit more into this person's history. And that's Harriet Tubman. She's somebody I think that is so brave, like especially being a Black woman escaping slavery, going back on 13 missions to rescue people who were enslaved by herself, by the way. She didn't go with like with a troop of people, didn't come to like had her back. She was going by herself. And I just like this blows me away. But also the other one of the other things that I really thought was so incredible was that she also was she's credited as being the first woman to lead an armed military operation in the United States
Wow.
during the Civil War. And she helped to liberate more than 700 people who were enslaved during the raid at Combahee Ferry, I think is what they say is called. But I just thought it was so incredibly inspiring that I can look back in history. Like, of course, I'm biracial. My mom is white and my father is Black. But to look back on the history of like on my African American side and seeing that there are incredible women that are strong, that have this courage, she's commonly viewed as like an icon of courage and freedom. And to me, that really resonates so much with me to have that, because being a woman of color, that's the first that you see when you look at me. That's the first thing you see is I'm a woman of color. You do not know the background of me until I start to talk to you and tell you my story. So you might think I'm Spanish. I get told that I look like I'm Spanish. So you don't know that until you start talking to me. So when I start seeing these, there's all these different stories in history of people just doing incredible acts of bravery at the risk of their own survival. Because she was free, she was free. She just kept going back because she knew that freedom to her was going to be, it wasn't going to mean anything if she just sat and allowed, other people like her, that looked like her, to still suffer. And she went and she did her part. To me, that's such an incredible story.
You have to understand the principles and the morals that someone like that has to have. That's it's weaved into every facet of their being to stand up for what's right, even in the face of danger. You know,
Yeah.
so it goes way deeper than just what she did. It was like having the balls to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
that takes balls, King Kong size, to want to help somebody so much because she knew what that life held for her, and she didn't want anyone else to suffer through it. So she
Yeah.
made a decision. I have freedom, but what is it really if it's I can't help someone else, right?
Yeah.
So those are the heroines of society that you don't hear about, you know? You always, my husband says this thing, and it's going to sound terrible on the air, but his friends always say, and I'm sorry, but he always says that you can build a thousand bridges and no one will ever call you a bridge builder. But if you suck one cock for the rest of your life, you're always a cocksucker. So, and that's just the way people's mindset is because people want to remember that. People like that gossip. They like to get involved in that juice because it somehow makes them feel better about their own life. But wouldn't it be nice if you could just be happy that other people are doing well without resentment or wishing, oh, gee, I don't have it that good. You know what I mean? If you could just be grateful that for what you have, even if it's not where you want to be yet, right? Because
Yeah.
everything is just a yet. Everybody's capable of doing the same thing everybody else is. You know,
Yeah. Well,
we're not all,
I just found it just incredibly, like, the reason why I find it such an incredible story is there was so much danger. First of all, it's not like she had a GPS to keep going back and forth, right? But she learned her way away and she learned her way back many times. But there was always danger on, being, how did she travel? Was it always at night? Of course, then the Underground Railroad and all of that, she did start partnering with other people. There were good people in the world at that time that were saying, I'm going to put myself in danger because I know this is the right thing to do. But
mm,
still going back and risking being caught because there were always times where there would be other people who are running away from slavery. Then they would set the dogs out. Well, they used these dogs they were using were good at sniffing things out. So what if they had caught wind of her coming back? She risked her life to go back. And I just think it's such an amazing, like you were saying, it's a great testament to show the integrity of a person, that it goes deeper than just my own well-being, but I want other people to feel good. That's like why I loved so much just bringing in for a quick plug for CJ and her video earlier today, because collaboration and competition, just getting to that for a quick second, there's I think there's always a good healthy dose of competition and there's a good thing collaboration. But with this woman, she was like, in order for me to actually have what I have and be able to enjoy my freedom, I need other people who look like me to come along and be in that environment with me. That's kind of like how I looked at it as well. So yeah, just blows me away.
but also you have to realize the inspiration that she brought to other people because here
Yeah.
they didn't think that there was a way out. And not
Hmm.
only did she find it, but she said, let me show you how, right?
Yeah.
So she was willing to do that because, so she was the first of, you know, um, in a time when there wasn't any firsts, right? So she brought hope and new meaning to a lot of lives. So that's amazing, you
Yeah.
know.
And for me, all these generations later, that I can look back on someone like that and say, thank you, because it's because of women like you that look like me. I have freedoms in this country that I might not have had if there hadn't been women like her that went before. So, yeah.
They want to take a lot of history out of our history books too, so I'm not happy about that, but that's a talk for another day. because
Yeah.
it all needs to be there, because it all goes hands in hand. You can't rewrite this piece when it contributed to this piece, unfortunately, right? I mean, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So yeah, so for me, my icon is always Florence Nightingale. She's someone I always aspired to be. She's probably why I went into healthcare. So a lot of the practices we use today, the the safety and that stuff came from them. Because she went first in health. She helped communities and stuff like that. It was a very communal thing. So I don't know that it was heroin, except there was a lot of diseases and people were dying, and she didn't want to. So she enlisted other people as part of that fight, and nurses were born. So I kind of owe my life to her, but it was something to aspire to because it wasn't being done back then, and they didn't real people were just dying. Millions of people were just dying, and she found a way to create a way to reduce the transmission, right? So there wasn't a host, a way to keep that host out of it, a way to practice safe hand washing and precautions and stuff like that that we still use today. But um when you look at like if you look at a lot of the old nuns in schools that worked in schools and stuff, they were the nurses of the school, and they were not looked upon like today. Women in that profession are looked down in a different way. Like when COVID happened and we all went running in, people were clapping for us every day. Back then they were treated more like doormats, right? So it was a very different time for what they were doing, and they weren't treated well, and they met a lot of resistance, right? So people just felt like they should let those people die, and they fought for the rights to help. So but there's so and we did just have this whole discussion. Leslie and I met for the last session, CJ, and it was about we did talk about slavery, and we talked about how it's going on now in modern day, and you can call it whatever you want, but it is what it is. Whether it's these sweatshops taking children and putting them into the sex slaves. Um, there's a lot of people that are still born into slavery in Africa. So we were talking about that, where they owed a very small debt, and they work for that debt for the rest of their life because the debt is much higher than what they make. I mean, ridiculous stuff that we uncovered. People that come to this country thinking they're coming to be a nanny or a housekeeper, and their papers are taken, and they're like become indentured servants to these people. So there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, but there's a lot of people that really need that ray of hope, that ray of faith. So even if we just gathering creates a thought-provoking idea for someone else to say, hey, wait a minute, this is wrong, or how can we help more? Or we get some of the people that do have that power to make changes higher than us, like at the state. I always say state and local, and it's the same thing. I don't know why I do that, but at the national level. So if we can somehow put that plug in their ear, because the more we talk about it, the more it gets out there. And then people have to start hearing. Because if we notice that it's wrong, you know?
I think just like us picking people from our, that have impacted our lives by bringing light to that, shining light on that. All of those people could have been like, oh, it doesn't bother me, I'm not going to get involved. And that's kind of where we are. We could be like, whatever, none of this is really directly impacting me. I'm just going to turn my head to it and a blind eye to it, where we need to put the light on these issues and these things so that other people can be aware and it be top of mind awareness, instead of let's just sweep it under the rug because it's not bothering us, personally.
Mm-hmm.
But even the thing, so we have a network, and we can talk on that network, and we could really bring a lot more people more hope, right? But even look at what's going on in the entrepreneurial world, right? If you have money, you're doing better than if you're just starting and you don't have that money. You can't get better because you can't pay for certain services, right? And you don't know how to do things, so you're left to fill everything out. People aren't knocking down your door to say, hey, come speak, if nobody knows who you are. So we can do that too. We can really be those women who lift people up that are just starting out. Someone reached out to me and she wants to be on a show and she helps shy people become sexually confident. I said, well, good for you. Right? Isn't that great? Right? I said, I bet there's a lot of women out there that would really, like that. But Eben Began, I think his first book was on how to make someone want to date you or get a woman to kiss you on the first date or something like that. So he's a billionaire, this guy. He's one of those really high level coaches. So, I mean, everybody has these great thoughts, but if you can't get anybody to listen to that, then what's the point?
Right.
Yeah. Well, here's a statistic for you. Before COVID, you had about, this is a number I heard, statistic I heard from someone that 10 million people were on Zoom every day. Post-COVID, 300 million people are on Zoom each day. So people are online, in other words, more than they were before, which makes it harder to stand out. And so that's where you have to become very strategic and really, go for the long haul. It's not easy. Don't expect to just out of the gate become successful, but allow yourself, if you want your voice to be heard, speak about something that's really going to resonate with your audience, that can change someone's perspective, possibly their life, and and go from there. But don't try to make it up. A lot of people try to, well, I want to do this, so what can I do? Well, let me just make something up. But it's like that whole avatar thing, right? Like, know your avatar. When someone asks me who my avatar is and what does she look like, what does she do for work, at first I was like, I don't like this exercise, because to me, I cannot make up someone I do not know. And I recognized that my avatar was me, a previous version of myself. I could relate to that. And then I could start to talking to women who were previous versions of myself and then expand out from there. But from the very beginning, it was like, make someone up. What's her name? What does she look like? Where does she shop? What kind of clothes does she wear? What is her hair like? Like, I'm sorry, but to me, that's just that exercise doesn't work, first of all, unless you have full clarity on your like what you're doing, like what are you solving. Anyways, I think we're getting off topic. I didn't want to get off topic too much,
No,
but
it's okay.
I did want to just bring that in, because I really feel like, especially for for shows like this, we our main reason, I think, for the three of us being together is that, we really care about people. Like, we want people to have a good life. Like, we do. I know both of you personally. I've gotten to know you over. I'm glad it's something that I got out of a previous collaboration that was really special to me, is to have to gain friendships like both of yours. But just knowing you, the person, like the human behind, because we've never met in person, but behind the screen here on the screen, to get to know you more deeply, I can feel that, we're on the same page, that we actually are in alignment. That's really important to me, so that we can come on the show like this and talk openly about things that inspire us, things that make us pissed off, our hopes and dreams and goals, and how we want the world to look. So, yeah.
But I think that's where it starts. Like, I'm teaching a menopause class tonight. Does menopause interest me? Absolutely not. But I'm teaching it because someone wanted to know about it. So I created this a long time ago. But until we start having those conversations, right? Because somebody out there might be struggling through it. For me, I breezed through it. I was very lucky, but everybody's thing is different. So the educational piece is very easy, right? But you do have to support other women. So I'm doing it more to support other women in case they have those questions. It's certainly not my bag. If someone wants to come in that knows it, better, they'll have at it. Come help, right? But it is about having those uncomfortable conversations that other people don't want to have. Like they have all these groups, for coaches, consultants, and influencers, get more leads. They should have a group for teach and learn, right? So that people that are just starting out, and maybe we'll do that next. What the fuck? Why not? Right? So where you, why not? But you teach someone a trade and you learn. So if everybody has something that is their genius zone, everybody does. We're not different in a lot of ways. We all want the same things. We all want a better life, you know. And I'm not just speaking to money, but anybody that says money isn't important is a liar. Because to do the things that you want to do, to help with charities, to do any of those things, to have that impact in the world. Like I'd love to set up cooking schools and soup kitchens and stuff like that because they don't have that home ec in the classroom anymore, right? But I can't do that based on my salary. So I do have to make more. But if everybody had that teach and learn mentality where we bartered for, like, if someone couldn't afford it and they were just starting out, but they could barter those services, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can't give you that $5,000 today, but what I can do is help you with this really great tech stuff that I'm good at. Maybe I can help you set up your website or do something like that so that everybody really is on the same playing
Yeah.
field.
Yeah.
Because
And you know what? You're 80% more likely to retain what you've learned when you teach someone else.
yes, yes,
So, right? So if
yes.
you learn something, so it's that whole learning and then paying it forward with teaching someone else how to do it, you're actually going to evolve in it because you're going to retain more of it. And you might even have light bulbs go off that are even more, spectacular than when you first learned it, teaching someone else something that you've learned. And then they can go on and teach someone else. And it's like this whole ripple effect. Like, again, that teach and learn, I think, is really important because there's so many people out there that I've even asked a couple of coach friends that I thought were coach friends, a couple of questions just from coach to coach. And it was like, well, I don't talk about stuff like this for free. And I wasn't coming to them as a client, I was coming to them as a colleague. And so for me, there's the integrity piece is like if someone asks me a question that might be able to help them figure out a piece of their coaching or a piece of their business and I just happen to know it, I would love to be able to share that because doesn't mean that they're going to go off and all my clients are going to follow after them. That's not going to happen.
But if you
So
don't share your knowledge, and this is what people don't like, people have said things to me like, you giving it all away. No, I'm not. If that was all I knew, I'd be in a lot of trouble. I have 40 years doing what I do. I could forget more than I mean, than most people know and still
yeah.
be on top of that, right? But if you don't give away your knowledge, then how will people know that you are the one for them, right? So if someone tries my product and gets a result and they've tried someone else's and all that other stuff and didn't get any result, I'm starting to look pretty good, aren't I? So they're
Mhm.
more likely to gravitate to me that did help them. Well, if she's giving this much away for free, imagine what her paid stuff is like,
And
right?
imagine what it's like to actually work along someone with their methodology. That's where it comes into getting that guidance, that accountability from someone who this is what I do. This is what I teach. Let me do this with you. And that I think is really valuable. And a lot of people will buy the do it themselves. But how many things can you think about some of the things that you've purchased yourselves? I know for me,
I didn't do any
a
of them
lot of
because there's
things
no accountability.
I either I started and didn't finish or I didn't start. So I'm actually going back through. I kept them all. Luckily, I was able to keep them organized, and now I can go back and there's things that are interest like, oh, yeah, I think I'll do that now. However, a lot of people aren't doing that. So they'll buy something, they don't do it, and it's gone. Or they'll sign up for what I used to do, sign up for every challenge or a workshop and not go. So it's
I sign
like,
up for a lot of those and they just don't. they just don't mix with my schedule. The other
Exactly.
thing I get is a lot of people asking me to join their membership groups. Like someone sent me something and said, "Did you look at this?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." I said, "And these are my thoughts." Because I'm someone who stands behind what I say, but if you really want to know what I think, you just open the door for me to tell you. I said,
Right.
there's 99 other people that are sending me the same thing, and I belong to so many groups, and that this, I would have to get another job just to fund the groups. I said, so if we really support each other, I said, because I've been in all these groups of women who support women, and I got to tell you, I'm not feeling supported, but I am paying a large portion of their bills.
Mhm.
so, and then it turns out that she totally understood what I said. I said, but this is what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to give you this free thing here, and you go check this out. And I did. And she came back and she asked me to speak. And she said, I was looking at your profile. You're doing some really cool things. She said, I'd like you to come and speak. I said, okay, I could do that. But
Yeah.
I could also return that favor too. And it's not tit for tat. It's like the more you open that door to friendship and you tell people who you really are, the easier it is. Honey, you can leave if you want to. I think my husband's waiting to walk. he doesn't want he doesn't want to walk behind me and go on camera. Yeah, you could tiptoe, honey. He laughs at me because I'm always in the same spot, and it is kind of in the door area where people do want to go in and out, but it's the most comfortable. So yeah, I think that we have to be those people that we expect from other people,
Yeah.
because it's very easy to sit and complain about what they're not doing, but if we keep complaining about it, then what are we changing? Right. So
Right.
we have to show up as those people. And I think we do that pretty regular. I think that anybody that knows us, CJ, I don't know how you find time to do anything because you're commenting on everybody's posts, loving on everybody. CJ loves everybody. And I'm like, damn. So that I see you in my news feed. CJ commented on this one. CJ. And I was like, well, CJ's a busy girl today. So you actually do love on everybody, and so do you, Leslie. And I think that sends a message to people, that you are in their corner. And I think people need that. I think a lot of people don't have that support system, you know, and it doesn't matter what business you're in, or maybe you're just starting out and it's really hard and you need that push to keep going forward. So having someone say, "Hey, good job. I saw something that you posted. That was amazing." Or whatever it is, it's kind of like acknowledging good job on you, you know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
so I
Yeah.
don't know what
But
you
I just want to, I've had several conversations in the last couple of weeks where it's like you almost have to preemptive strike and say, I'm not here to pitch you. I'm not going to talk about my business. I literally just want to get to know you, build rapport, build a relationship, see how I can support you. And people are like, whoa, wait, no, you're going to come in, you're going to slam me your pitch. I'm like, no, I seriously want to have a genuine conversation and know about you. I'm not going to talk about my business. I'm not going to talk about anything that I have going on. I want to understand who you are, what you're about, what sets your soul on fire, those type of things. And at the end of those conversations, those women are like, wow, you really truly give a shit about me and what I'm about. You didn't try to pitch me. You have no desire. And I'm like, it's not all about that. And I get so tired of seeing the whole, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. You got to give this many no's to get a yes. How about you just have genuine conversations and make people feel seen and heard? Because those people, when they do need something down the road, they're going to remember how you
do.
made them feel and that you listened instead of pitching them. Because anybody who comes into my DM and pitches me, I'm like, nope, I don't work with anybody who doesn't have a conversation with me first.
But you got to turn it around on them. I find that that's very effective. So a lot of people come into your DMs and they're like, I can help you get 15 to 30 clients a month. Is it worth a conversation? And I respond, no. Right. And then I say, but I have this and this and this. Would you like that? Because when you throw it back to them, because it is very sleazy the way they're doing it, it's giving you permission to pitch them back. So if you start looking at it that way, then it kind of makes it fun because you're kind of getting the chance to show them, listen, I'm not in your game, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
let me show how you feels because they're marketing to you. They have no idea who you are. They have no idea what you do. They have no idea what your business is about. And they're telling you they're going to get 30 clients. What if they have no idea about your business whatsoever? How
Yeah.
could they
Yeah.
market to health people, right? If they're not in health, because they don't really understand those pain points until they lived it, right?
What
So,
I've been doing is I've just been saying, um, like I pitch anyone, I really like to get to know someone first. So tell me about yourself. I would come back that way because I'm finding usually those people, it's just a learning lesson for them because maybe that's just how they've been taught. But if you can, it can become a teaching moment where you could say, hey,
but you
I
are
typically
teaching.
don't. Yeah, but I think if I could come back in a way where to say, hey, usually I don't just come out of the gate and say, hey, I can do this for you and this and this and this. If I feel the inclination to do that. Instead, what else I do, I'm telling them what I do is I will get to know a person first before I pitch my services. And then if they continue it, then I know that it's falling on deaf ears. But I've had many say, oh, okay, well, and then they start to tell me about themselves because it's a learning, I think, moment when, and you can teach someone, thank you for telling me this moment for them that when they go into someone else's DM and they end up in Andra's or CJ's DM, then they are going to be a little different instead of pitching right out the gate. It's like, I really want to get to know you first. But there's also the other aspect of those getting to know yous because you can tell that they're leading up to. There's always also those types of messages that you
But
get that might start out.
they are
Yeah,
marketing those get to
yeah,
know you things online because I'm in those groups too. So,
yeah, yeah,
where they're telling you to get to know them and hey, are you keen? I have this group that helps you and are you keen on joining? So I've been in all those
yeah,
groups too. So I mean,
yeah.
I don't come at them and say, here, buy this. This is what I have. But I do let them know. Did you ever hear the expression value first? So what's your
Ah,
value here? I mean, and I've had 3 million of those conversations in the very short
yeah.
time I'm online. And the same person will come back in my box and say, "So have you thought about what I said?" I'll be like, "Yeah, I basically told you no." So a
Yeah,
lot of times it does fall on deaf ears because for
yeah.
them it is a numbers game. For them, they are working to get those numbers or they don't get paid because that's their whole task for the day. So
Hmm.
I'm not angry at them, but it does give you a chance to pitch back. And I'm just not from that school. I think that if someone
Yeah.
can't see the value in working with me, I'm not going to spend my entire day trying to get them to see that because there's enough people out there that want to help me. Yeah, I mean that I can help. You know what I mean? Not that want to
Hmm.
help me, but well, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that want to help me too. You know, but they can see the value in that, and even showing up. I think that if the more you are your quirky, silly, ridiculous self, or
Hmm.
if you're that sophisticated, person that shows up all sexy, there's a market for everything. There's always going to be somebody out there that identifies with you. So, like Eben Began, focus was to get people to get kissed on that first date, right? So the guy made millions of dollars. So there was a lot of people out there that were struggling to get kissed on that first date, right? And it was interesting enough for them to pay for that book to learn how Evan was getting those moves, right? So,
Hmm.
so there's always a market for something, but you have to really be consistent in what you're saying too, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And share who you are because if every time something new comes out or if you see something's not hitting, then you have to find a better way of saying it. You could always reword it. It doesn't mean that if you're a health guru one day, the next week you start selling Pop-Tarts because nobody understood what you were saying here.
Right.
You're just not talking to their pain. I think people tell us to talk to their pain points, right? I know exactly the pain they're in because for me, I was in that pain. So, but I don't think serving that or pushing that in their face is really going to attract them. I don't think that's going to remind them. I think that you can find a gentle way of letting them know they need help without pushing their face in where they're at. So
Mm-hmm.
there's got to be that gentle, um, not, hey, I'm over here. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to look like that. You can be like this. There's a gentle way to say and a nice way to say everything. And I see you the way you share when you talk, Leslie and CJ, CJ, you're more of that in your face girl because you do wear the crown of queen by design. So you're telling people that you were that person, that yes person, and now I don't take anybody's shit. So that is your mantra. So that goes with you. It's not that sitting down and talking to you, you're not like a little butterfly because you are, right? But it's just about finding your voice out there. And I think we can help a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
And
we should.
especially, but before you say anything else, I also want to just point out too, Andra, that you are doing quite a lot. And I don't think people realize just how much that you're putting out there because you're creating these classes, these workshops for people around health, doing the veggie challenge when you did that, where you had
That you asked me a question on the podcast, and afterwards, the way I answered it, like after we got off the air, I said anybody listening must think, what is this girl doing? She's like an elf,
yeah.
right?
No, I
Because
loved it. It was so good.
she was asking like what like the biggest moment was for when I helped somebody. And I'm a health coach, but it wasn't really about their health. It was really about their mindset and the things that they were holding on to. Because I know, how the body works, that until they work through those problems, that was why they were emotionally eating. That was exactly where they were stuck. And
Mhm.
after that, like, and I didn't even mention on the podcast, they did go on to lose that 73 pounds, but I never even
Mhm.
mentioned that. So people are like, what is this
No,
having to
you
do
did,
with
but
this?
you did mention there was a transformation, and I'm going to leave that for the listeners to listen to. But
Okay,
there was a transformation. But no, I do see for me, inner work is still part of healthcare. It's still part of the whole package. You're working on your body or taking care of your body, eating nutritional foods, hydration, all of that stuff. The mind still, if you don't, if you're not right there, is that's your mind and your emotions. If you're not right there, all of the other stuff is still you're not going to be able to have that. Like you were able to share that this person had that mindset shift, which allowed for all of those things that she wanted to happen. But if she hadn't had the mindset shift, she would have still been stuck, right? So I think that's what I want. I really feel like it's important for people to realize that the mind and the way that we think, the way we feel, our emotions, they go together. That's still part of our health care. We have to take care of that,
absolutely,
you know?
absolutely. You're talking about all these things that I do. I want to tell you a funny story because I think people need to hear it. I do a lot of these workshops, right? And sometimes nobody shows up. And like the last one I did, I thought everybody would want nutrition for weight loss made simple or whatever the hell I was doing. And somebody showed up, but it was people that work for me. And they were like, yeah, we want to watch this. And I was like, really? So, but it made me say, look how loyal these people are. They probably have no desire to be here. They probably are not struggling with this, but they showed up for me. Right. But I did this, you know, I did the workshop anyway, and I recorded it. And now, because you never know why people don't show up, maybe it's a bad time. And now I could put that on YouTube, and anybody who needs that
Hmm.
will have it. So,
Yeah.
and it makes me better because I get more comfortable talking and doing what I'm doing because I don't like speaking publicly. So for me, that's a help, you
You
know?
never tell.
Well,
I'm not
I
going to
don't.
tell
I
that.
This is very different. This is
No.
not very public, but like I kind of walk like a duck when I walk on stage and stuff, you know. My mother used to call me chicken legs for a reason. So yeah. So but let's end this show because I do have other stuff to do. We all do. But I think that what we're doing is amazing. I think we're really on to something amazing here and being the voice for other people. And I think that is really going to be a big part of who we are and doors that we open for ourselves because those connections that we're making and those voices, there's a lot of people showing up that are saying I would love to share and I want to talk, but nobody will give them a chance. And I think we could be those people for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, guys, so thank you so much for showing up. So this has been a great session of healing from the inside out. I want to thank my co-hosts Leslie Gaudet and CJC Boyd for always showing up and love you. Mwah.